Okay, we're back. We're live. I'm Jay Fidell. Welcome to Thinktech Talks. We're talking about community matters because they do. It does. Community matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're talking today about Hawaiian Telcom and how it is going to 500 megabits, and that is something. Scott Barber, the COO of Hawaiian Telcom, is here, and Jason Thune, the Director of Network Planning.
You got that
all right?
Yeah.
Planners. You absolutely need to have planners. They're so important at every level. And he's the Director of Network Planning for Hawaiian Telcom. Anyway, we're going to talk today about the 500 megabit product, and there's an article, or rather an ad in the paper, in today's paper. I couldn't help notice. You must have seen it. Everybody must have seen it because it's really a cute Photoshop drawing of a limousine that looks like it's 200 feet long. I think they got them, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, they do.
It says, Hawaiian, more speed, more features, more choices, with up to 500 megabits of high-speed internet on our next-generation fiber network. Hawaiian Telcom. Okay, anyway, so that's the subject of our show. But before we get to that, I want to follow up on a discussion we had earlier this week with two of your guys who talked about, with Earl Ford and Ryan Miyamoto were here. And they talked about the Hawaiian Telcom University 2014 at the Convention Center. It was yesterday morning, Wednesday. That's right. And I'd like to know how that went. We were high in expectation. Now what happened?
There were over 600 people at the event, which was more than last year, so we were excited about that we had more people interested in the event. Cisco was a major sponsor, and so they were our keynote speaker, and they talked about internet everywhere. Which is literally means, for example, they gave an example of today, there's 50 billion IP-enabled devices. By 2020, there'll be 500 billion IP-enabled devices.
Talking about the Internet of Things.
Internet of Things.
Yeah.
And so it was exciting to see that. Obviously, we were sort of highlighting the cloud at this event and trying to tell people that more and more businesses are going to be dependent on things in the cloud. And that could be software in the cloud, it could be services in the cloud. And then how our product offerings actually help customers with delivering those things that they need from the cloud. And so it was a pretty interesting, I think, event, and I think the reviews are going to be outstanding from our customers that attended. So,
that's great.
Yeah.
And I told them, and I still feel the same way, I haven't changed my mind, is that I would like to see this whole Hawaiian Telcom University turn into an opportunity for local tech entrepreneurs. Because I think, you know, telecom telephony is a great way to develop a tech industry. You know, we haven't really done that yet. We have a lot of talented guys. A lot of them work for you, but we don't have an industry of people doing R&D, developing new products right here, not on the mainland, not in Asia, not in Europe, right here.
You know, what's interesting is that our 500 megabit product actually helps enable that. I actually rented a house from a guy that was uploading CAD files that were huge CAD files. As soon as he found out that we got fiber in that neighborhood, I said, hey, I'd like to hook the home up to our fiber optic price. This is great. It's taking me forever because he works from home. He telecommutes from home. It takes me forever to upload these CAD files. And he was doing entrepreneurial stuff. So I think it actually helps enable that tech industry from fostering and growing here in Hawaii.
Sure.
So,
let me echo that. You know, Thinktech does movies for OC16, and we do movies for Olelo. Okay, in each case is a big issue about physically delivering the movie, physically. In the case of Olelo, it's as close as Mapuna Puna, which in rush hour ain't fun. And in the case of OC16, it's as far as Mililani, the tech park there. That is not fun at all anytime. And traipsing out with a drive or even a DVD is really a hassle. And there have been times, you know, when I, as a somewhat of an innovator, wanted to change that and say, well, why don't we use something called Pogo Plug? I don't know if you know. It's a little personal server you can attach to your drive here, and it acts as a server for the other guy. So you load it to the one in your office, and the other guy can pull it down off that. It is not fast, but it is cheap.
Yeah.
And and every time I've tried that, the response was, I'm not going to do that. It takes too long, and it's not completely predictable, and so forth. So it really, you know, it would be better if we had 500 megabits right? So we could just pass that over in just a few minutes. That would change everything, not just for us, but for everybody who's moving big files anywhere in the state. That's why when I saw this ad, when I heard about what you were doing, I was pretty excited about it, that the average schmo like me, we can actually have 500 megabytes. Yeah. So we got to talk after the show. Maybe we should talk during the show.
We can certainly do that.
Okay, well...
We'll need a band like that to actually deliver that, but we got them built for it.
Yeah. So you have a new delivery truck now, which is 200 feet long.
And instead of people out partying in a big limousine van like that, we got loads of services for our customers, including our TV product on top of that high-speed internet. So
okay. All right. Well, let's. I think it was great that you did the university, and I think there are real possibilities. And this 500 megabits thing is going to have an effect, I think, as it's rolled out. But why don't you roll out the story? Okay. First from you, Scott, from your point of view, and then Jason, from your point of view. So what is it that's happening with Hawaiian Telcom and 500 megabits?
So we've been investing over the last couple of years about $125 million in our fiber optic network, and we knew that broadband is coming, more and more higher speeds are needed, and the demand's there, and we weren't going to be able to deliver that over the traditional networks that had been placed 20 and 30 years ago. So we decided as a company that it's time to invest for the future. Quite frankly, 500 megabits a little bit ahead of the curve, and that's where we want to be, is we don't want to be chasing demand after the fact. We actually want to have a network that's ready to do it. I mean, 1 gigabit's the next thing, right? And with fiber optics, it's limitless. So literally, once you take fiber to the side of the home, the side of the business, it really is just the electronics on the end that's going to deliver the speed, and that's becoming more and more cost effective. So investing in the network is a key strategy for the company going forward in terms of serving the community. And when you serve the community, you serve them well, and you back that by great customer service, we believe that you'll have the customer in the long run. And so we're dedicated to the network, and we're using IP-enabled networks. We have what we call an MPLS core, which is an IP routing core, which self-healing core, so all of the islands are tied together with this MPLS core.
You sound like a smart grid.
Yeah, well, it is a smart grid, quite frankly, and so we think that right now we have about 55,000 homes that have the 500 meg available, the 300, the 100, obviously all the way down. And that's growing every day. We're actually building past 40 to 50,000 homes a year, and we'll do over the next 2 or 3 years. So eventually all of Oahu will actually have this product set available to them. So we're excited about it, and we actually think it's the growth of the company. We're also doing TV, which is a big strategy.
Wire.
Same wire. So that same wire that's delivering IP bandwidth or high-speed internet is also delivering our IPTV product. The menu guide is just head and shoulders over what we're seeing from our competition out there. Instant channel change, all digital, both on the video and sound side, and so it's a really exciting product. And then, quite frankly, we also do what we used to do for 130 years, and that's we do voice too. Yeah. But we're excited to deliver all 3 services over that fiber optic cable, and as I said, it's really limitless.
IPTV, is that like Apple TV?
No, it's Internet Protocol TV.
Okay, so how does that work?
Instead of traditional RF signals or analog signals being delivered to the home, we're actually delivering that over an IP format, and then we convert it back into an analog format outside of the set-top box. So it actually allows us to just deliver 1 channel at a time to the home, rather than trying to deliver 300 channels to the home and having a tuner out there trying to find the channel when you're changing the channel. So we just deliver the channel you're watching, and it allows us to use more of that bandwidth for things like high-speed internet.
So what about the offerings on that IPTV? I mean, right now, for example, my wife I think she's getting married to Netflix, and she watches these serials, like The Weekend, the whole weekend.
Yeah.
We can talk about some of them if you want, but I'll talk about one of them, and it's House of Cards. It's about how the sausage is made in Congress.
Yeah.
It is really scary.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, is this a great country or what? And so
sausage is a good explanation too. Definition.
But this, the cereals are the new literature. They go on and on and on. 40 cereals, and they go automatically. And she sits there, and that's The Weekend.
And quite frankly, that high-speed internet product delivered to a good Wi-Fi router in the home is going to actually make that Netflix experience even better. So instead of watching that hourglass every now where things are buffering, it's instantaneous. You can watch that streaming video. So we're happy to provide that opportunity to our customers.
That's great, because that's where it's going. I mean, our world is, and the content is so terrific. So your content is the same content, different content, what?
Than our competitors?
Yeah.
Yes, we've pretty much got all the same content. There may be a few channels that they have and a few channels that we have that are slightly different. But I mean, you can't be in the business unless you're delivering ABC, NBC, CBS, ESPNs of the world, those Disney channels. And so we basically all have all of that as well. We actually have access on our application, our menu guide, where you can get to Twitter. So you can do Twitter over that. We're getting ready to roll out Facebook on that, and so we're sort of marrying social networking with the linear TV product, and then eventually we hope to get access to products like Netflix and Hulu, all from the same remote, all through the same application. So
people are going to spend more time and money on that going forward. It's clear. They also want to be able to use the TV as a big monitor, where they get on their computer, their laptop in front of the TV, and it becomes their monitor as their eyes fail. Present company excluded, of course. A big monitor really helps. So, and a question for you, Jason, is how much of that do you agree with, and what would you like to offer in rebuttal to everything Jason said? I mean, Scott said.
Well, Scott pretty much nailed it right on the head. The big
I didn't think he was going to disagree, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, really, I just said I learned from him.
Really, the big investment starts with not what you see out in the street or to the home, but really what's in the core network. And Scott alluded to that a little bit earlier. So in our early stages, before we launched TV, before we launched these higher speed internet packages, we actually had to invest in our core network throughout the whole entire state. Without that, the rest of the infrastructure really can't be held up with the bandwidth demands that are coming on. So we spent a few years doing that. And then we start branching out to different parts of the island from our core infrastructure.
You think of it as the lung.
The lung or the heart
system,
It's a circulatory system, what do you call it, the little alveoli at the very end?
There you go.
High school biology,
And so once that happened after a few years, then, as Scott said, we went to shortening copper loops, but we saw the bandwidth demands continue to increase. In fact, it increases at about a rate of 4 to 5% per month. And so we wouldn't have enough copper out there to serve all our customers, so we decided to move forward with fiber optics.
Right into the house.
Right into the house. I mean, we literally bring the fiber to your house when you order service.
One point I'd make is a lot of people say they have fiber optic in their network and they're serving their customers with fiber, but there's a difference between extending that fiber out a little bit and putting a piece of electronics and still using copper or whatever else you're using in that last mile. There's a difference between that and actually extending fiber all the way to the side of the house, especially in terms of bandwidth. And that's what we're doing, which is unique from a service provider perspective in the nation. There's very few of us that are doing that. So,
Well, I mean, you're looking forward, and I wonder, and I'd like to cover this right after our break coming up now, how much of this is related or reflective of Governor Abercrombie's broadband initiative, which was, a couple of years ago, where he, spoke of trying to bring fiber or high-speed internet everywhere in the state, in the notion that that would help commerce, education, learning in general. So let's take a short break, then we'll come back, and we'll talk about how this works on a statewide basis and what it means on a statewide basis, and what it means to me.
Great.
Sounds good.
That's Scott Barber, Hawaiian Telcom COO. That's Chief Operating Officer, in case you didn't know. And Jason Thune, Hawaiian Telcom Director of Network Planning. And our question today is, what's going on? Hawaiian Telcom goes to 500 megabits. I'm not kidding. Look at that. We'll be right back after this break. There. I'm Jay Fidell. That's Sharon Moriwaki of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. And every Wednesday we have Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy. We've been doing it for some time now, and we have some fantastic guests on there, unbelievable guests who give us insight into what is going on in a very complex, sometimes very confusing, sometimes very disappointing area of progress in the state. So we love doing this. We love meeting them. We love talking to them. We love having their ideas out on the table. So maybe, just maybe, we can all make some sense of what's going on. Sharon, what do you think?
I think that's absolutely correct. We enjoy ourselves meeting with all these people and hearing about the energy and the state of clean energy, and hopefully we advance clean energy for the state. So it's terrific. Join us.
Okay, it's every Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday is Energy Day. Every Wednesday, 4 to 5 p.m. Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, here on Thinktech Hawaii. We'll see you there. As predicted, it should be no surprise that we're back. This is Thinktech Talks, talking about community matters because they do. And we're talking today about Hawaiian Telcom and how it is going right now to 500 megabits, which is extraordinary in our time. With Scott Barber, the COO of the company, and Jason Thune, the Director of Network Planning coming to a reality right near you. Absolutely. To a continent near you, yeah. So the broadband initiative the governor rolled out a couple of years ago, he spoke about bringing high-speed broadband everywhere. And his view of it, I think, is clear enough that this would help the state economy, would help education, it would help all of us in every way. You know, in a certain extent, it was pie in the sky because the state wasn't going to put any money into laying, you know, fiber all over the place. You guys were. I guess he was telling you something. But what was that all about, and what happened?
You know, I think it always starts with government backing that level of effort that's needed, right? And so one of the issues that many providers bring to the table when there's a reason why they can't get it done is that they can't get cooperation from the state or the county or the cities in terms of permitting and things of that nature. So it's always good when it starts with the governor with an aspirational goal of saying, hey, we want to be behind getting a gig to every home. Of course, the devil's in the details in terms of the time frame. We had already decided at that point in time we were going to start to roll out our TV product and improve our high-speed internet product. And as we transition to more fiber-to-the-home technology, it actually is becoming to fruition, quite frankly. And our network could actually deliver 1 gig. Now, we got to get the cost-effectiveness down at the electronics at the end, and it's getting there. So I think his vision is actually coming to pass all on its own. Of course, every brand new joint trench that opens for new development, we put fiber optic cable there. Kakako is actually getting ready to go under a bunch of development. It's already started, quite frankly.
That's because your network planning person demands it.
Yes, that's right. And he set the core up again so that we could actually deliver that at the end. And so it certainly is beneficial that we have the state government. And they've actually funded their own IT department. The state is actually making a number of improvements. And
Sunny Bagwalia
and all that. Sunny, and connecting their data centers together, creating improvements in their own IT back office systems by using some of that connectivity as well.
So you're involved in that because you're part of the connection.
We certainly provide services to the state to help them make that happen.
Yeah, so, okay. Well, we can hardly wait on that, you know, because I only offer a thought that is recurrently true, and that is if you apply new technology, especially things like a website or telecom, to a company, you change the nature of the company. You're in fact morphing the company. And so you can expect the company to improve in general once you apply the new technology. It happens over and over again.
Yep.
And if they don't do that, then they go away. That's what happens, you know, got to keep up. Anyway, you had some slides, and I think we need to understand what it is. The
slides aren't mine.
We had some pictures.
Go ahead, show them to us.
Okay, can we see a picture, and then these guys will identify. So, qu'est-ce que c'est le picture? What is that? Looks like fiber.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like they're putting in this thing called a duct line, and within the duct line is where they would actually blow the fiber optic cable. So it looks like he's getting ready to actually put it into the manhole or the pole box that in the street.
So that conduit is actually a vehicle by which we literally, with air, just float the fiber cable into the conduit. So instead of pulling on it like you traditionally would a hard cable, it creates an airtight connection for us to actually blow that fiber in.
Mm-hmm. While we're talking about pictures, what is the picture that we're using for a background for our green screen here? The blue picture there, you see it?
Yes.
What is that?
I think that's trying to depict the power of light, quite frankly.
It's a symbolic thing.
Yeah, symbolic, yeah.
Like a million fiber optic points of light.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's see another picture, and then we find that one. Okay, this is somebody with a Hawaiian Telcom orange outfit and construction hat doing something in a telephone closet, it looks like.
Yeah, so in there it looks like obviously they're wearing the proper safety equipment, which
Okay.
which we definitely love to have. But
that's because your network planning planning director insists on it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Safety first.
Yeah, safety first. And so what he's doing is, in a building such as this, or multi-dwelling units, we would actually run the fiber cable into the basement, and then we would put it in this thing called an electrical or a telephone room. And from there, we would branch the fibers up to the individual units.
And the telephone room is critical. I remember, gosh, it has to be 15 years ago, there was this whole thing about MPOE, minimum point of entry. It was a part of the Telecommunications Act of 1996.
That's correct.
Yeah. Is that still in place? Does that still affect these rooms, these telephone rooms?
Yeah, so we do still have a DMARC or an MPOE that we actually go to, and then from there the customers can get service from us or any provider that wants to build into that IMPO, and that was essentially the goal of that particular act, and so that's still in place in how we design our networks.
So into that telephone room, you're building the fiber, and if I am on the 32nd floor through some conduit, then you can put fiber in there too, so I can have that complete fiber connection that you were talking about.
Correct. Yeah.
Or I can have copper for the last part of it.
Depends on what you
want.
want.
A legacy kind of thing. Depends on how much speed I want.
Yes, yeah, correct.
Yeah. Which reminds me, how much of the state right now today being the 6th of March, is on 500? How much of the state will allow 500 megabits?
So
right now?
we have about 55,000 homes today that can have access to that 500 meg product. And we're passing about another 40 to 50,000 homes every year that will actually have access to that. So we actually have a website where people can go in and put their address in, and it'll tell them right away whether or not they qualify or not. We pass their home, and it changes every day. We're actually adding homes all the time to that network, and it actually goes into a list, and as soon as their home actually gets passed for that fiber, we can contact the customer and let them know now it's available to you.
Are you the only one that's offering 500 megabits?
Yes, in the state of Hawaii. So we're the fastest internet in Hawaii.
So I know this is a little disjointed, but I have so many questions that they pop up in my brain. Sorry. So, okay, so before we were offering less, whatever it was. And now a customer comes and says, I want 500 megabits. And he goes on the website and it says, you can have 500 megabits. Now you guys have to do something, right? You have to deliver that. So what do you have to do to deliver the 500 megabits where you didn't have 500 megabits before? I have this vision in my mind that somebody goes into a telephone closet like that and turns a little dial, says, 500!
I wish it was that.
Yeah, if it was that easy, we would be in a lot more places. So one of what we do these days is we pre-position the fiber. So sometimes before anybody even orders service, we do our marketing research to determine take rates, and then we would plan out the area, and then we would construct to it. Once we get into that telephone closet, we can actually have customers call in and order service from us. Once they order service, we send a technician out there to run a small little fiber jumper that goes from the telephone closet actually to your home.
FJ,
So
FJ,
along those
Yeah.
lines, right?
fiber jumper.
We actually brought one to share with
And I
you.
say one picture is worth 1,000 words. One actual object is worth 1,000 pictures.
Awesome. So, we have a little more we can also show you as well. So they would run something like this, and there's a protective plastic around it, and right at this very end tip is the fiber optic cable itself, and it's very light. I guess I kind of already broke one end of it.
So this, we can't get a real, but let me show it anyway. This is the operative technology right here. This is the fiber.
The actual fiber itself is about the size of a hair. Not that I would know what that is.
So this is a bundle of fibers.
But that's coating around that fiberglass to actually protect it. So the glass itself is very, very small. So.
And, okay, I have questions. Okay, so this can carry a lot. This can carry more than just a telephone call, more than one TV, right? This can carry a bunch. How much can it carry?
Well, for our consumers, we can do 500 megabits. We can, and at the same time your TV, and at the same time your voice call, and not have any one of those degrade at the same time. For some of our larger businesses, we do up to 40 gigs, and in some cases even higher. So 40 gigs is about 80 times faster than
This.
Yeah, with the exact same fiber.
And there's technology, obviously it's very expensive electronics on the subsea fiber cables going across the Pacific Ocean, where they have single fibers carrying millions of calls at the same time.
The same size.
Yeah, it's just the electronics on the end of it is very,
It's the
very
black
expensive.
box
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, and that's expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this carries light, and you told me before not to look directly into it because, why?
Well, there's a laser that comes across from our core network.
So the light goes by laser. It's laser light that we're talking about that goes through this thing.
Pretty much a laser
That's
light.
pretty high tech, yeah, okay.
It is. Fortunately, it's not plugged in, so it's okay to look directly.
Okay, I'm looking, I don't see anything. I don't see any movies, no telephone call, no, never mind, no joke.
You know, it's light on, you heard the old thing about ones and zeros with digital.
Yeah.
Light on is a 1, light off is a 0.
Yeah.
And it's just going so fast that it allows to transmit. And then it does it with multiple colors. So that they have electronics today that says, I'm going to send it with one color, and I'm going to send another color light down there, and they start to stack up colors. And that's how you end up getting more and more bandwidth out of just a single glass of fiber.
On and off, and also the colors.
Yeah.
So now there's more than that one in there, or maybe it's the same thing. What have we got? There's neighbors. Now this looks like just solid plastic. Am I wrong? What is this? What are these other guys?
Yeah, that's correct, Jay. So, as we know, it's called fiber optics. It's a piece of glass. And as we know, glass is very fragile. And these lights and colors that Scott mentions, they're extremely sensitive to distortion. So these pieces that you see here are actually meant to prevent the fiber from breaking or bending to a point where your service would get interrupted. So it's mostly for the safety of the fiber optic.
So this is the payload right here of this everything in the sheath.
Yes.
This is the payload. Wow. And it's actually it's delicate.
If you bend that piece of glass too tightly, you actually start to lose light out the side of the cladding around the glass. And so that's what Jason was talking about. They build the cable by such you really can't do that. And it allows the techs to handle it without having to handle
Worry about breaking it
yeah.
at a number of points, yeah.
So,
Is it possible to find out where the break is? I mean, is there technology to go track back down the fiber and say, it's that, milestone X. We know exactly where the break is. Can you do that?
Absolutely. So they have a machine, and it's an acronym called an OTDR, but basically it takes a light measurement and it says, okay, what is the distance of the break where the light is no longer there? And even from a troubleshooting perspective, this is so much easier than it was doing copper because it'll tell you exactly where the break is.
God, I have never had a segue as good. You talking about breaks, we're going to take a break. How about that?
Sounds good.
And we didn't rehearse this either. Okay, that's Scott Barber and Jason Thune, both from Hawaiian Telcom. This is Thinktech Talks. I'm Jay Fidell. We're talking about Hawaiian Telcom goes to 500 megabits. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
I'm Hong Jiang. I'm hosting Tuesdays Asia in Review at Thinktech Hawaii between 4 to 5 p.m. In my shows, we bring to you important issues and events in Asia, issues related to the culture, society, the environment, and history. We want you to be more connected to events happening in Asia and in the world. So see you there.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidell of Thinktech. We have some news for you. In addition to our Thinktech TV show and our Asia in Review show on Olelo 54, as of January 1st, we're adding Community Matters to play also 2 hours a week. Check out thinktechhawaii.com for the specific times of each of these shows. We hope you enjoy all three. Mahalo, I'm Jay Fidell. This is Thinktech Talks, Community Matters, because it does. We're talking today about Hawaiian Telcom going to 500 megabits with Scott Barber, the COO of Hawaiian Telcom, and Jason Thune, the Director of Network Planning there. And I'm still trying to get over the fantastic cue that Jason gave on the break. We had a break. Okay, enough. So people talk about how, television and for that matter, internet degrade at a certain point in time, like in the given day. Hawaiian Electric would call it the peak hour. Mm-hmm. Maybe you do too, where everybody turns on something all at the same time. They all came home from work. They're at the dinner table, or better yet, they're watching television. They're on they're on their computers all at the same time. And if you have a lot of people on that circuit, it tends to degrade the speed. So does that phenomenon take place with this kind of fiber, your kind of system, your kind of black box?
Not really. The fiber optic system is dedicated to the home. So we are actually delivering that bandwidth to that home, and we're not sharing it with a neighbor across the street or the whole neighborhood. Some of the older technologies that were provided and they're still out there today actually take fiber to a certain point in the neighborhood, and then from there it's pretty much shared by 200 homes, 400 homes, 500 homes, and they design those, quite frankly, and they watch those to try to make sure that they're not overloading those in the evening hours. But as bandwidth demand increases over time, at times what you get is congestion. So where there's too many people trying to get access, that limited amount of bandwidth you took to that node.
Sort of like the freeway.
Yeah, exactly like the freeway. And so you have to go back and upgrade those neighborhoods, reduce the number of homes, upgrade the bandwidth, and so it takes some management to ensure that you don't get that congestion that I talked about. We don't necessarily have this with fiber optic cable because it's a dedicated bandwidth to the home. Okay, so that means if I sign up for whatever number it is, and I want to talk to you about the plans, if I sign up for, say, 500 megabits, and then I get on the computer and it's peak hour, and I do a speed test, what am I going to get? What's it going to look like? Is there a degradation at all for any reason, any purpose, any influence? There is sometimes overhead that you'll see that'll take off a little bit. So I don't know, Jason, what you would guess you would see if you tested 500, but you may show 490 or 480 or something instead.
That's close enough.
A certain amount of overhead.
You have the overhead, and there are things that are completely outside of Hawaiian Telcom's or any other service provider's control, and that's just the internet itself. So if people are doing a denial of service attack or trying to hack into a speed test site, that's nothing that this network can do. It's all based upon internet usage, which is typically on the mainnet. God will get them for doing that. Yes. Yeah. That's what we're praying for, yes. Pray that God will get them for that. Okay. The key is making sure that that last mile, as I talked about earlier, doesn't have the limitations. So as long as you can get to the internet with that pipe, at least you know it's not from your local service provider. Now there may be other backbone problems, as Jason mentioned, that are completely out of people's control, but just want to make sure you're not limited down your street. So yeah. Okay, give me talk about backbone. Give me the status, and I haven't really checked on this in a long time, of the cables. The cables coming into Hawaii, the undersea cables. Southern Cross, for example, comes to mind. Mm-hmm. All that. What do we got coming in? How fast is that? Is that one of the things that could affect the speed you get at home? So there are a number of cables that land here. They all have a finite life to them. So typically a Trans-Pacific cable will last 20, 25 years. What happens is that the amount of money you have to put back into them to keep the bandwidth up becomes not cost effective anymore.
So one of the things that we're monitoring closely, and I think the governor's office is as well, is just when do we expect to see exhaustion of those cables happen to occur, and make sure that doesn't. That's why he's been encouraging either cable systems to actually land here. And so right now, a service provider like Hawaiian Telcom or our competitors are buying bandwidth from one of those companies to actually transport them back to the mainland to get access to one of the main peering points. And you just want to ensure that there's always enough bandwidth that you can continue to buy as it grows, and that doesn't exhaust because one of those cables have ended their life.
Yeah, also you have to watch it. You have to keep track of when the useful life is going to end, or I guess people agree on when it's going to be retired.
Yes.
And you make a calculation and say, okay, we know the Southern Cross comes to an end at a certain time. That's it. Now we have to have a replacement.
Yes.
We get the governor on the phone. He calls them. He says magic words to them, and they put in a new cable.
Well, it's interesting. It's a business opportunity. So there's a number of people that actually watch it, quite frankly, and that are in the subsea systems, and they know kind of when these systems are going to come to exhaustion and what the business case is, how much bandwidth. I think our bandwidth is growing as a company overall about 2.5% to 3% a month. So every 3 years, the amount of bandwidth we're buying to get to the internet is doubling. And so these companies know that, and they know the companies like us are going to be there to buy bandwidth, right? And so there's a number of people that watch it, but it's hundreds of millions of dollars to do it, and so it's no small feat, and it just doesn't happen because the governor calls. There has to be a demand, and,
sure,
and
market.
And quite frankly, there is. So,
Well, I mean, it becomes more and more important in our lives. All of this, we become more dependent, and for entertainment, we become more dependent.
It's going to be a day, Jay, when you go to your refrigerator, you pull out that carton of milk, you pour the last of it in your glass, and you say, oh, I'm out of milk. You zap the code on your refrigerator. It creates a list that sends to Safeway or wherever you shop, who says, deliver this list of groceries for me to my house by Tuesday. And that's all IP-enabled stuff.
I bet that was discussed yesterday at the Hawaiian Telcom University. Internet of Things. Well, I mean, that's a really interesting point, because it's not a straight line. It's not like people are going to be locked onto voice calls, or even just using the internet, or even just using the internet plus, entertainment on television. They're going to be doing bloody everything on the internet, including the refrigerator and everything else which is involved in the Internet of Things. Your house will be wireless, but the amount of data that's traveling around is going to multiples. So you got to factor that into when you need another Southern Cross or whatever.
Yes. Well, eventually that all filters back to those cables, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I guess you're only getting your milk from the store down the block. So, but there's all these other things, more shopping, for example. I mean, our world is changing, and you're right in the middle of it, actually. How do you live with yourself?
My wife asks me that all the time.
Can we see some more pictures? Okay, that looks like some cable, eh?
That's one of those ducts that we talked about earlier, and it looks orange, and people may be wondering, well, I don't see an orange in my neighborhood. Orange is typically meant for underground applications, and there's different color codes that the industries use to discern between telecom or electric. When we put aerial cables up, it's black in color, just like a lot of the cables that we have today. We don't want people looking up at something orange when they should be focusing on the road.
Yeah. Well, that's a very interesting question you raise, and that is, people walk around talking about why are all these wires over our heads, including in my neighborhood, which is, close to the center of the city. Why do we still have wires up ahead? Are you putting wires up on the telephone poles? Are you putting them down below? Or is it a combination? How do you determine where you put it?
We're typically not trenching up new neighborhoods just simply because of the cost of that and cutting the lava rock and et cetera, et cetera. So if there's an existing pole line there, we'll actually attach that pole line. And if you think about the cables on that pole line, they were probably placed, one was probably placed there 40 years ago when every other house may have one voice line working out of it. And And then all of a sudden, everybody needed a voice line. There wasn't enough in that cable, so they placed another one. The next thing you know, we need a fax line, I need a teen line, I need a business line in my home, and we need four. And so we start placing more cables. And now we're coming along placing that fiber cable to replace all of this stuff. So as we connect people in those neighborhoods to that fiber optic cable, we can get off of those old copper lines and eventually come back and take them down. So.
Yeah, okay. Hope it's soon. It's an aesthetic question.
Yeah.
I mean, Hawaii.
We're putting black conduit up so you won't have to look at orange.
Well, that does help. We're going to take a short break, our last short break here. We have Scott Barber and Jason Thune. We're talking about Hawaiian Telcom going to 500 megabits, which is really important, and it's a leading action. It's an action that shows us the strength of the market, reflects the fact that we are in, yes, the 21st century. Yes, we are, and we're doing high-tech things here in Hawaii. We'll be right back after this break.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for Thinktech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Okay, we're back. We're live. We're at Thinktech talking about 500 megabits. Hawaiian Telcom is going to 500 megabits. I know it because it's in the paper today. Actually, it was in the paper before. This is an ad I've seen before. Anyway, we have Scott Barber and Jason Thune of Hawaiian Telcom right here. We have one more picture that we should look at. Can you show the picture? There it is. Oh, that, we've seen that. That's right here on the table, isn't it? Or that's better, different. It has colors on it. I can see the colors. What is that?
Yeah, it has different colors. So that's a bigger fiber cable that we use when we're going down the neighborhood street. So this is the one that goes to your house. And I actually have a sample one here that I...
This one goes to my house.
That one goes to your house.
Okay.
This is one that we would put in the telephone room in the basement of a building. So there's all these fiber connectors, and just like with any other industry, people get smarter, they find more creative ways of doing things. So we just basically pull off the cap and we click and plug it in. Whereas
so
before,
no splicing or anything.
No splicing, exactly. It's just click in, and you can tell by the weight of the fiber cable. It's really light.
So it's really light, like, gee, just very light, very light. Yeah.
Copper would weigh a lot more.
Yeah. So this would serve what? How many units, how many homes, how many offices?
So we have 3, 4, 5, 6. We have about a dozen here. So we could serve 12 individual units. And
a phone or a computer?
Well, as long as we connect it to something in that location, it could serve your TV, your internet, and your phone. It depends what box it plugs into.
We could take a single one of these into a large business that has a call center and handle all of their calls. We could handle all of their bandwidth, or we can take it into a home and handle all of their services. So it really just depends on the electronics you put on the end of it, the way you can serve. So the bandwidth's limitless. It's the actual physical action of getting that somewhere where you can terminate it on a box to deliver all those services.
It's all about labor.
Yeah, it really is.
So you got to put it in place. But once you're in place, the useful life of this stuff, I assume, would be some many decades.
Yes.
As much as 20 years or more?
More.
Yeah, because the undersea cable has different kinds of environmental stresses on it and so forth.
Like copper cable in Hawaii obviously struggles with the salt air, and so it degrades over time, whereas this has no copper. And so, I mean, sun, water, physical stuff, obviously over time can start to impact the sheath, the cable, but the glass itself is almost, has no finite life to it. So.
Okay, so here we are in this this new initiative. It's exciting to know that I can buy this. I guess I got to look up and see if I can buy it. Can I buy it downtown? Is downtown one of the areas?
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
And it's going to cost more than my 100 megabits, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it going to cost 5 times what my 100 megabits cost?
No, it won't cost 5 times.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
We're going to have to talk after that.
Yeah.
and that.
Only 4 times for you.
What are your obstacles? I mean, this is a major project. I saw those trucks come around my neighborhood. They were there for a couple of weeks anyway, and they were working real hard. And I knew what they were doing, and I was impressed. I figured this is good for the neighborhood, and good for you to do that. But the question is, there's a lot of work involved, a lot of labor, a lot of contractors involved. What are the issues that you see going forward to getting to where you want to go on this? Because it is a very important project. Yeah.
I'll let Jason go first.
Well, obviously, all of this costs a lot of money, and we want to make sure that we make the right investments in the right place at the right time.
Oh, so it's a question of where. Where?
It's not only where, but it's also when.
Okay.
So as an example, we need to make sure that we build out our network correctly, and not just go into a random neighborhood if we don't have all the infrastructure there. We don't want to pass your house just to get to Scott's house and not serve you along the way.
I don't want you to do that either.
Yeah.
But
I think the obstacles, even though the construction process is very tedious, a lot of labor, and making sure customers understand why you're there, making sure the city and state understand, getting the materials here on island, lining up the necessary people to get that done, getting the planning done right, as Jason. And then once you get all that done and get that moving, the obstacles then becomes, how do you convince the customer, and we're doing a good job of it, but that it's worth the time to go ahead and try a new service. There's this hassle factor where a customer, I got to learn a new remote control, I got to learn a new modem or whatever it is. Once they get it, they don't leave. But it's like, I got to be home for a few hours, and so we're really working hard to make sure that install experience is a good one, that it's quick, that we can teach them how to use the service, and then we got support behind it, and that eventually they're going to say, you know what, I'm so glad I went through the hassle of changing because it definitely was worth it. That's another obstacle for us as well.
Yeah. So because then you want that. I mean, you want them to like it because then they will buy it, and if they buy it, that justifies the expense. And then you return on the investment and all that. Tell the neighbor. So what do you do to make it sweet for them?
So we run promotions all the time. For example, right now you can get all 3 services in your home for $99. So we can give you
television, internet, and telephone.
And telephone for $99. And so
they don't have to change their telephone instruments with this system.
No, not at all. And so obviously they end up with a new TV menu guide and a new remote control, and they get all the benefits of that, of the new IP-enabled TV system. But so there's a little bit of training and education with that. But time and time again, our customers tell us, "Oh my goodness, I'm so glad I switched. I just love your service." And so for $100, you can get all 3 of those services in your home, which is very competitive price in the market.
Well, you guys are really in an interesting spot, and certainly your infamous or famous planning director, your network planning director, has got his hands full because you're on a continuum here. You're riding a wave. You must have a lot of stuff on your desk. No kidding, Jason. And trying to stay on the wave, stay with the technology. It's a hard business, actually, just looking at it from the side. So my question is, what's it going to look like for you guys in, say, 5 years? How do you see that? I'm asking the planning director.
Okay. He's the man behind the curtain.
Thanks, Scott. So I actually see this continuing for at least another several years, at least on the island of Oahu, in order for us to stay competitive, as well as Hawaii to stay competitive, and to your point, make it more tech-friendly. We need to do this, and so we're spending a lot of our time and our energy focused on how can we deploy this to the furthest reaches as possible, and by the way, doing it at the most cost-effective manner, and by the way, making sure that we don't leave our traditional services behind. We want to make sure that we cover our customers who still want our phone service, as well as the customers who want other types of services from us. So we need to make sure we balance those investments. But this is the wave of the future.
And part of that, I guess I would fold it into the question somehow, is that these millennials are giving up telephones. they're giving up landlines. You must know you're probably closer to them, you know, than either Scott or I are close to them.
Thank you. I take that as a compliment.
Please. But, you know, they're giving up, you know, and a lot of people, you know, will continue to do that, I think, just because of the functionality of the cell phone. It's the way it is. So query, how does that affect this? And how does it affect you? Because you started out being, you know, landlines. That's what you were, what, 5, 10 years ago? Am I right? 10 years ago.
You know, what's interesting is that people think when people go to cellular that it's all like a walkie-talkie and there's no wire in it. We're actually the wire in wireless. So every one of those cell towers actually has a fiber optic cable going to it from Hawaiian Telcom.
I love it.
Likely.
I love it.
And so they pick up the phones that are serving out of that cell tower and they transit back over our cables, over our bandwidth we sell to the wireless carriers to actually process that call. And so there's a lot of wire to deliver wireless. And so we're the wire and wireless going forward. And you know, there's always going to be people that want landlines. Certainly businesses still.
Oh, that's true. You got a core group, hardcore. They're never going to give up the landline.
Yes, and so you know, we're still going to be there to provide that, but we're not just a phone company anymore, obviously. And you know, we're really extending the reach and speed of our broadband network because it really is the Internet of Everything, isn't it? And that's what we're going to be 5 years from now. The person that's providing access to that Internet of Everything.
Yeah, wonderful, isn't it?
It's great. This is a lot. It's hard work, but it's a lot of fun, and my employees take a lot of pride in deploying fiber optic network. Actually, people get excited about this.
Yes,
I'm getting excited and just being close to it. Anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you.
It's really been great to talk to you. This sounds like a very exciting time, as you say. Scott Barber and Jason Thune, respectively the COO of Hawaiian Telcom and the Director of Network Planning of Hawaiian Telcom. I wish I had your job. I wish I had your job.
It's a great job.
Don't worry about it. I like my job, too. This is Thinktech Talks Community Matters. Hawaiian Telcom goes to 500 megabits. Watch and see what happens. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Aloha.